All right, guys, this is Dr. Zev Mellman, and I have on video conference the one and only Sherry, the master doula in the world. She was my wife's doula, and the reason I'm bringing her to the screen for you guys is because I want you to hear and have a 0-to-1 experience. And I'll give you a very short, very sweet introduction to Sherry. My wife and I were planning to have our son Lincoln here in Miami, and it didn't end up happening like that, so last minute we went to Atlanta. And my wife, in just 2.5, maybe 3 weeks max, found Sherry and had such a connection with her in that short period of time that she felt it was more moving and more special than all the weeks she was here with our birth team here. That's how powerful the connection was. That's how awesome she is. That's how authentic she is. And that's how prepared, and most importantly, I mean, this isn't about me, it's about the women, and of course the husbands that support their wives in this process, is the comfortability and the support that this woman here on the screen gave my wife and then me when I came up was bar none unbelievable. We talk about it to this day. We'll lay in bed sometimes talking about Sherry. My wife for months would text Sherry questions, support questions, and she was always, always there no matter what. So not that she is here in Miami, but she's an amazing resource of someone everyone should know and connect to and plug in with, because that's her hustle and that's her grind 24/7. And I could tell you firsthand, because when I was in Atlanta and Lincoln was born and we had no sleep, I was so exhausted. I would text her at any time of the night, literally while we were staying there, and ask her a question or for help or for support, because I was a first-time dad. And man, she was there no matter what. She has amazing wisdom. And one other thing I just want to say is a lot of times when it comes to building birth teams and having people that help support you during this process, is that sometimes they're such yesers, but not Sherry. Sherry will yes you if it's a yes, but she'll be the first person, in my opinion, to know you as well, but coming from a place of love and knowing what she's talking about. And I remember the first time when I got to Atlanta, my wife set up some lunch for us to all meet and greet. And I really didn't know how I was going to feel about the experience, to be honest, because I'm just always a little bit about like, well, how did she find someone she feels so strongly about so fast, right? And I remember you just laid it right into me as soon as we met, and you challenged me, and you really helped me get clear. And because of some of the things you mentioned to me, I won't go too personal here, but it changed my headspace, and it changed a lot about how we've gone about bringing up our 2-year-old son, Lincoln. So thank you for that. No need for any other introduction. Sherry, I sent you some questions. Let's start with this. I think one of the things a mom would like to know are, what are some of the common things you hear from maybe a place of fear or concern for new moms that are getting ready to go, I don't know if I'd call it the natural birthing process, but you know, they're pregnant, they're going to deliver a baby, and they're reaching out to a midwife or a doula. What are some of the things you hear that they come to the table with that always crack you up and you immediately have to say no, 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 or go for it?
The first thing you have to be able to hear is that there's no such thing as a natural birth. All birth is really natural because having a baby is natural. And so I'm assuming that you're talking about a normal physiological birth.
Thanks for the correction.
So that's the first thing. And a lot of women wonder, I guess fear-based, you know, can I do it? And the truth is that every woman's body is made to carry a baby and carry a baby to term and to birth a baby. And however you do it is how you do it. Every baby wants to come out eventually, and there is an air of fear in America around the birthing process that's been put on us by television and medical society, that it has to be done a certain way, and however you choose to have your baby is your empowered way to have your baby.
Awesome. Yeah, there's no, well, that's another thing I learned from you and the team up there, is there's really no wrong way to have a baby. You know, that's right.
The old dyad of healthy mommy, healthy baby was always missing the idea of empowered birth. But we don't need to put on a woman what an empowered birth looks like, because you never know what your birth is going to look like.
You're right.
You may have dreams for having one kind of a birth, but the truth is that baby guides the birth. And the more you get in touch with and listen to your baby, the more the baby tells you exactly the way that it needs to be born. And so when you are at the helm of the decision-making process, along with the team that you have hired, whether it's a doctor in a hospital, a midwife in a hospital, a midwife in a birth center, a midwife in a home birth, and your supportive team, whether it's doula, family, friends, as long as everyone's on the same page and you as parents are making decisions about your birth at the same time that your healthcare professionals are, that is your empowered birth. So you may end up with a medicated birth or an augmented birth, or you may end up with a surgical birth as well as a normal physiological birth. And if that's the way the baby needs to come out, then that is your empowered birth.
I love that. You're right. There's so many different ways the baby can come out. They're all empowering, as long as, like what you're saying, is you're dialed into your baby, and obviously the baby has almost full control. They're gonna lead you through that on how they want to come out, in a sense, correct?
Absolutely.
I mean, you would know better than me, yeah.
Every time.
And another thing is that I know when you say that, you're saying it from probably thousands and thousands of deliveries and experience, not like, hey, I read the most recent book and this is what it says, right?
Exactly. I've been on over 500 births, and people come in with all sorts of ideas about how they want to do it and how they can do it. And the truth is that you really have to find a team that speaks a language that sounds like the way you want to have your baby.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. One of the things that also sticks out at me, now that I'm speaking to you, is that I remember also another thing when we were up there, the birth plan. And I remember you hit that real hard, and you really said, hey, make sure it says this. Make sure you have X amount of copies. Make sure all these things are in place and your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted. What are some things that need to be in a birth plan? Because to be honest, right now as I'm speaking to you, I don't really remember. So
I'm very specific about my birth plan, and I actually give all of my clients and anyone else who wants it a copy of a template that is particular to the place that you're giving birth, because I've been to so many births at so many different places, including home births. I think you need to have a birth plan. It always should be only one page. It should be quite legible. It should have a minimal amount of information about you and your partner, who your pediatrician is, and then should be in 3 different sections. One is your plans for before the baby's born. So while you're in active labor, whether or not you plan to stay at home, if you're delivering at a birth center or a hospital, what you would like the mood in the room to be, whether or not you would like low lighting, quiet, whether or not you want students to come in and join your professionals, whether or not you want apprentices to come in. Then the second part of the birth plan is how you want everything to go down once your baby comes out. Do you want your baby to be rubbed down with towels or blankets, or do you want the baby to come skin to skin? Do you want a cap on your baby or not? Do you want vigorous suctioning of your baby if it's not necessary? Do you want your baby to go immediately to be weighed? Do you want your baby to not be troubled at all except for gentle listening of breath sounds and the heartbeat until after breastfeeding is established? So all of that needs to go into a section of the birth plan that your care providers are very clear about. And then the third part of the birth plan is, what are your plans for after you've had that golden hour or maybe 2 hours with your baby, when your newborn is brightest and alert and just coming into the world, hearing gentle and soft voices, feeling gentle and soft touch, and getting to know smells of mommy and daddy. Are you...
How important is that?
That that time from when your baby comes out of your body until it goes back into a restful, sleepy time. We call that the golden hour. And so many studies have been done on the importance of the golden hour in order for the baby to have the best transition possible. Even if you end up with a surgical birth, possibly you need to speak with your care provider about whether or not they perform what's called a family-centered cesarean or a gentle cesarean, so that baby still comes directly to mommy's chest and has that skin-to-skin time when it's at its brightest and most alert, so it can bond through smell, touch, and sound with its parents, and it's exceptionally important.
Yeah. You think it transitions in after that golden hour, it helps them nurse better, boosts immunity? What are some of the benefits in that golden hour, so parents that are getting ready to go through it, or maybe a parent that's going to have another, or someone that's already gone through the golden hour could say, yeah, I saw that personally? What are some of those things?
Yes, the undisturbed time after birth is very important for the baby's transition from inside life to outside world. In the inside world, baby is coddled, it is warm, it is held, it is comfortable. Even going through the birth process, which may seem super stressful because it's squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, it's part of the baby's natural process. And when the baby comes out, if it's not given an opportunity to transition into this world in a nice and calm way, then it disrupts all of the systems of the body, the breathing system, the endocrine system, the nervous system, the circulatory system, through allowing the umbilical cord to continue pulsating until it literally stops. Before you disconnect the baby from the mother, from the placenta, even if it means that the placenta gets born before the baby's disconnected from mom while the baby's still on mom's chest, skin to skin. It's so incredibly important. So many studies have been done about this.
That's a golden nugget within the golden hour there.
Right there.
How does, I forgot about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Should that be in the birth plan, like to all the team of providers? Hey, this is, regardless of what the end result is, we want to let that pulsate all the way through and get all that blood moving.
Right, and so we just state that very directly on the birth plan. We prefer to allow the umbilical cord to cease pulsating on its own, or you can say we would like to delay cord clamping until we have felt that the cord has stopped pulsating on its own. The best way to know that it has stopped pulsating is to allow the placenta to be delivered still connected to the cord, and then you 100% know that the cord has stopped pulsating, because once the placenta detaches, then of course it has no more purpose for maintaining the baby's life.
Right. Sherry, is that something you can request as well, like, or that you could hope for? Can you say, hey, listen, we're really looking for X, Y, and Z in this process post-delivery?
Actually, it should be insisted upon. This is something that you should discuss with your provider way before you ever are birthing. And I would say that it's up to the partner or the doula to remind the care provider. And one of the ways that I do that is by when the baby is up on mom's chest, that I will say to the partner, Zev, how would you like to feel to see if the cord is still pulsating? And I'll actually guide your hand or guide mom's hand right down to the cord and show them how they can gently just put their fingers on and just gently squeeze the cord and feel if there's still a pulse. And if there's a pulse available, I definitely would tell whoever the provider is that you're not ready to disconnect the baby. There are very few instances in which this is not possible.
What are some of the problems that come with, cutting the cord too soon?
Well, for sure,
you've seen.
Sure, they just. I won't say that I've seen it, but first of all, we know that the research is out there. So all medical professionals know for absolute sure that allowing the cord to pulsate for a minimum of 90 seconds after birth is physiologically more healthy for the baby, because if you think about it this way, the placenta can hold 30% of the newborn's blood volume at any given time. So if you automatically can't clamp the cord, you're cutting off possibly up to a third of the blood supply that the newborn has available. Of course, we know that cord blood is very important because it's full of T cells and other cells that are just important for life, as well as red blood cells and platelets and everything that keeps newborns from being anemic.
Huh. It's huge. Huge.
That's the most important thing right there.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the things, you know, when you first find out you're going to have a baby, and regardless if you choose to go midwife, doula first, or, you know, hire an OB and go that way, either way, sometimes the initial questions you ask, you're more in like a state of like, whoa, and just trying to download instead of ask sometimes real clear questions. What are some of the blind spots you see kind of mom and dad forget to ask, or that they should know right up front almost, either no matter which door they're walking in, that way they're more prepared? Do you see anything? Have you seen anything repetitious? Maybe not, but if you have, I'd like to know.
Yeah, I would say that some of the more repetitious things are the one that you just asked about, or we just discussed, which is, are you in favor of delayed cord clamping? If so, can we wait until the cord, or how do you feel about the cord ceasing pulsating altogether prior to clamping?
Okay.
How do you feel about the placenta being born prior to clamping? How about, do you keep up with the baby-friendly hospital initiative? How do you feel about the golden hour? Do you feel that my newborn needs a bath? What is your policy on going past my estimated guess date? Never say due date, because really that's just not an expiration date. American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology now says that 42 weeks is post dates. And so you need to know if your OB/GYN or midwife is on board with the latest recommendations from their college or from the Association of Midwifery that they're connected with.
Okay. What happens if they say they're not? What happens if they say, no, 42 weeks is way too long? I mean,
ding, 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 ding. It's time to find a new provider.
All right,
if
fair
you're
enough.
a provider, and I think this is something you really have to understand. If you're in an office, an OB/GYN office that has midwives even, and there are maybe 5 or 6 doctors in that same office, you need to find out from each of them if they all practice the same way, because you may be really in love with your doctor.
That's a good one, too.
And they may be really on board with your ideas for birthing, and then no one else in the practice is, and then you've got 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 chance that your doctor would be showing up for your birth and have any idea of what you're talking about when it comes to how you would like to go about your birth.
That is spot on right there. Let me ask you this. I remember day one, me, Amy, you eating at R. Thomas, and she asked a really good question, and you gave a really cool answer that I had never read or heard prior to you, which was, she was like, Sherry, can I eat this? Can I eat this? Right? The food conversation. What can you really eat? You know, because there's so many things that say, stay away from this, stay away from that. Whether it's through read or through your experience, how do you feel about that? Because you gave some really honest answer and really put my wife's mind and stomach at ease.
Yeah, I feel very strongly about it, and actually the recommendation from the American Society of Anesthesiologists, who came up with the old idea that you shouldn't eat or drink when you're in labor, has changed, and now they suggest a light meal during active labor. The truth is that your body knows what it needs. If you're giving birth, you can consider yourself running a marathon, and you would not starve yourself nor your fetus during a marathon. So eat and drink to your desire when you're in your birthing time. And if you're not with a practice or birthing at a place that not only accepts it, but suggests it, then I would turn tail and exit stage left.
What about though prior to delivery? You know,
well,
because
that's what I'm talking about.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Whether you're at home or whether you're in the hospital or birthing center, it's really important that you feed your body protein and easily digestible sugars during your labor. I will say that I did have a client one time go to the taco bar when she was in labor, and I can highly suggest that maybe the taco bar isn't the greatest idea, because at some time during most women's labor, your body decides that it's not wanting to do any more digesting, and it may not want to digest what you already have inside your belly either. And
is
so
it coming out this way then?
it may just exactly do that, which is when the taco bar is not any fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
I remember you looked at Amy when we were eating, and she said, "Sherry, can I eat this?" And you looked at her and you said, "Honey, did you eat that before you were pregnant?" She's like, "Yeah." And you're like, "Well, then you could eat it now." Listen to your body. It knows what it wants.
Your body knows exactly what it wants. And so I actually suggest that no matter where my clients are birthing, that they have very accessible, high-quality proteins and easily digestible foods available at all times. That means having a cooler that you take to the hospital with you that has possibly grilled chicken if you're a meat eater, maybe jerky, definitely nuts. I highly suggest dark chocolate sea salt almonds, because it seems that doulas actually like those a lot also for snacks. And cheese, grapes, and electrolyte drinks like coconut water or Recharge, any of those kind of healthier drinks that have any kind of electrolytes in them. And let me also tell you that if your hospital tells you you can't eat anyway.
Stage left?
No, I would eat anyway, because I just would like to be the one in the room with the camera watching a nurse try to take food away from a mama in labor. I want to watch that, really.
That's hilarious. We're talking about food. What are some things you've seen or heard or read that kind of, speed up labor? I remember when I lived in Atlanta for 8 years, there was a very famous spot that people used to go to, but you know what? I'm still kind of unclear about that.
Okay, well, in Atlanta, it's Scalini's, and I'll tell you that That's
the spot I was just thinking of. That's where we all went. Well, I didn't go there to live, but that's where everyone in my school would go.
Yes, every big city has its Italian restaurant that touts its eggplant parmesan as the latest, greatest thing, that if you're 40 weeks and you go and you eat eggplant parmesan, if you haven't had your baby in 48 hours, your next meal is free. But I have heard everything from eggplant to large amounts of pineapple. I mean,
everybody's different, right?
Well, everybody believes old wives' tales differently. The truth is, when the baby's ready, it will come out, and unless there's a medical reason to wait, then the best thing you can eat is patience. It's a very satisfying meal.
Yeah, easier said than done, right?
Often. I'm waiting on 2 moms right now who have passed their due dates by 10 and 11 days.
Oh, wow.
And they're getting massages and going to movies and resting a lot and going for acupuncture and seeing the chiropractor 3 days a week, and just making sure that their body, mind, and spirits are really in good places in preparation for their babies.
Awesome. I thought, you know, Amy's food, her last meal was, besides snacks, her last actual meal that I felt kickstarted it was our Thomas's organic Alfredo, fettuccine Alfredo, and I asked for like a ton of olive oil just because my mind went to Italian food. So I was like, well, is it the eggplant? Is it the olive oil? I don't know, but you know what? We're going to pour. I literally, our Thomas himself actually came and brought us the olive oil, and he's like, what are you using 3 things of olive oil for? I'm like, look. So we put it on, we ate it, and I think like within an hour and a half, who knows if that was it, I don't know. I just, as we're talking about this, I remember that being.
Well, I love olive oil anyway. Maybe it just helps babies slip right out. Who knows?
Maybe, who knows. So we covered some really good ground, and I know you have 2 that could come out any minute here, so I'll let you go. But is there anything else that you feel someone should know regarding anything, or are we good here?
I think that hiring a trained and seasoned, trusted birth professional to go in this day of our villages being so much smaller and our families being so spread apart is one of the most important things that you can do. And, you know, meeting you guys here in Atlanta, even that short time before your birth, you had mentioned that your wife texted me for several months. The truth is that your wife texted me this week. We are still in very close touch, and like I told you, I'm on call after your birth, usually for about 18 years or so. And find yourself someone with whom you can have a very deep and trusted relationship. I really adore you, Zev, and I adore your wife and your lovely baby. Thank you for allowing me to be in your birth. I'm so honored.
Absolutely. We love and appreciate you. Thank you for your time, okay?
Thank you. Happy birthing, everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.